Okay, we can start the class now. I think everything is okay. So, good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, 25.
Good afternoon, sir.
So please put your microphone so that we can start. The class is CIT735. Very sorry, this is supposed to be our third week. But the first 2 weeks, we are having a problem. The problem was that they mistakenly wrote CIT835. And so by the time I launched the class for the first week, there was no student available. It was the second week they now corrected it, that it is supposed to be 735. I thought it was for masters. They now said no, it's for PGD. So that was why we couldn't hold our class 2 weeks ago and last week. And that was why we said today we'll try and see if we can have 2 classes, first and second class. Then next week we'll see whether we can also have first and second class. After that, we revert to 1 class. And then when we are through today, we also open another channel of communication, which is going to be via WhatsApp. For the people who were in the last stream, they have a WhatsApp page. So what I will do after this class, I'll just go and clean up the page and then give you the link. Everybody will now join there. So that if we have any problem discussion after class or before class, we can table it in that particular group. And it's strictly CIT735. Relationship between us is strictly academic. Because I don't want anybody coming to chat me, disturbing me for what is outside your classwork. So I'm supposed to help facilitate this course for 8 weeks. Course code is CIT735, and course title is Application Software and Multimedia Systems. Of course, we have all done introduction to computer before now. And in our introduction to computer, we were taught that a computer is an electronic device that accepts data as input, processes the data, then give out information as output, and store it for future use. That basically is our definition of what a computer is. And we also taught in our introduction to computer class that every computer is divided into 2 major parts. You have the physical components that make the computer system to work. That's the movable, electronic, mechanical components. You call that hardware. Then you also have the collection of programs that drive the hardware and make it work. You call that one software. The combination of hardware and software together make up your computer system. And then when you now come to software, that is the set of programs that make your computer system to function. Software, again, is divided into 2. You have the set of software that is designed to be made use of by humans, the users of the computer. They are collectively called application software. And on our mobile phone, we have another name for them, which we call them as apps. They are called application software. For our mobile phone, we call them apps. When you hear apps, you are, of course, talking about application software. Software you can use to solve everyday problems around you. Then the second category of software is the one you call system software. That is the one designed to be used by the computer itself. So the application software, the multimedia we are talking about, falls under the category of application software. My name is Kingsley Okonha. I'm from the University of Benin. That is where I work. Currently on leave at the Pan-Atlantic University of Lagos. So I shuttle between the 2 places. And so for this very first class, we will do a basic introduction to multimedia. I believe we all have the course material. So what we are supposed to read should be the first 2 units. We'll read it. And we can also be reading ahead. The 3rd unit, we'll read it ahead, and the 4th one as much as possible. So what do you mean by multimedia? Multi means many, multiple, many. And so it means different mediums, many medium, plenty medium. And so when you talk about medium, you are talking about the channel through which messages or information can pass through. And so when you are not talking about multiple or many media, you are not referring to different channels, that is multiple channels through which you can send, you can receive, you can present, you can store, or you can perceive message or information. So when a teacher like myself using some set of instructional material, like a chalkboard, that is what you call blackboard, or I use a textbook to illustrate, or I even use Zoom, or I use an audio cassette, what I'm trying to tell you is to present my material to you in using multiple formats so that it can enhance your understanding. So at the end of this class, this particular class, you should be able to define the concept of multimedia. You should also be able to explain the benefits of multimedia applications. You should be able to outline the shortcomings of multimedia applications. You should be able to describe the various areas where multimedia systems can be applied. You should be able to classify multimedia systems. And finally, you should be able to outline the various multimedia data elements. So let's spend some time by looking at some definitions. Multimedia, which we call multiple media, have been defined by different scholars. So we'll just take some. One of them says multimedia is media that uses multiple forms of information content. Multiple forms of information content. Multiple forms of information content and information processing. Okay, sir. For instance, audio, graphics, and video to inform, entertain, or educate the user. So when you see a course teacher coming to teach you, he's using textbook to explain. And at the end of the day, he presents the same teaching in an audio format, in a video format, in a recorded format. That is multiple media. He's trying to engage you using different media. And so this definition is gotten from Access Developer Network. Access Developer Network. That is the definition. And the second one says, multimedia is a combination of text, animated graphics, video, and sound delivered to an audience, which can be learners, can be listeners, or viewers through electronic means. This one was given by Batch Elder. Then we have another definition, Marshall, 2001, define multimedia as computer-controlled integration of text, graphics, drawings, still and moving images, which we call video, animation, audio, and any other media, where every type of information can be represented, stored, and transmitted and processed digitally. Then we also have another definition by CIT735. Multimedia refers to computer-based materials designed to be used on a computer that can display and print text and high-quality graphics, play pre-recorded audio and video material, and create new audio and video recordings. And the concept of multimedia, as you may have observed from some of these definitions we talked about, connotes just three facts, which you could have pieced together from the definition. The first one is the presence of a message or information content. And the information, because you are trying to pass across something, it must be a message. And so for you to put them in multiple formats, that message must be very important. So the information you are trying to pass across can be a learning material, can be a news item, which you can send through your WhatsApp, you can send through your blog, you can send through the internet, you can send through the radio, the television, as the case may be. Can be a business presentation, awareness creation, or on some health, political, social issues, or entertainment. Second fact is that multimedia has a source and destination. What you mean by source is that it flows from one particular source, and it is meant for a particular destination. Somebody originates it, and then it is now propagated to different destinations. So the speaker and listeners, teacher and students, government and our citizens, business and its customers, they are what you call source and destination. The speaker is the person that originates. The listener, it gets to them as destination. Teacher is the one that talks, and the students in their various places, they can listen to the teacher. Thirdly, communication channels, media through which the information is passed. Oh, I want to communicate via multimedia. It means multiple media. I have to do it through all these channels. And these channels could be the medium through which it passes through. So if I use textbook to communicate with you, it means my medium will be paper. If I now use electronic means to communicate with you, it means I am also using radio or television channel to do the communication. So these channels could be traditional means such as text, spoken words, pictures, illustration, and images, or they could be in electronic form such as audio cassette and radio presentation, video cassette and television presentation, slides, computer PowerPoint, YouTube, graphics, animation, and so on. These are definitions of multimedia. So let's turn our attention to characteristics of multimedia. What you mean by characteristics are features, qualities, attributes, things that you can always associate multimedia with. And it has 4 basic characteristics. Number 1, they must be computer controlled. Multiple media, it must flow from the computer to be able for it to be represented in all these media together. It should be integrated, meaning you must find a way of fusing it into that particular system so that it can be used. If it's going to be on paper, you must find a way of transcribing, whether it is audio to paper content. If it's going to be on audio, you must find a way of relating it from paper to audio. If it's going to be video, you must find a way, like I'm doing, of reading it out, teaching it, and a video recording will be made, which the students will have access to. Thirdly, the information they handle must be represented digitally. Yes, when you say digitally, it must be able to pass through ICT tools and medium, move from one aspect to the other, can pass through the computer to telephone to different means. And finally, the interface to the final presentation of media is usually interactive. When you say interactive, oh, we are seeing it. We can always give feedback. We can respond to it. We can ask questions. We can even tell the person that we are not, you can't even hear anywhere. The audio is low. The audio is too high. Oh, the background noise is too much. There must be some means of interaction, feedback, exchange of information. So these are the 4 characteristics of multimedia systems. So when you see any multimedia system, these 4 characteristics must be present. Computer controlled, integrated, presented digitally, and usually interactive. I think the Zoom I'm using, it's as if I went and used my personal plan, which is for 40 minutes. I didn't use that of the school. So for the next class, I think we'll see. I think we'll remove this one from the site and use the normal Zoom plan for now. That would be easier for us because that one does not have restriction. This one say 40 minutes. My class will end in about 10 minutes time. So let's continue. When it ends, you can log in again using the same means. When you say computer control, it means producing the content of the information by using the authoring tools, image editor, sound and video editor. You can store the information, you can transmit it, and you can present it to the end user. So you can even go to Microsoft Word, use it to generate the information by typing. Then you can go to PowerPoint, represent it in PowerPoint. You can transmit it through a network like we are doing, and then present it to the end user and can also be stored for consultation in future. So in this case, you can use web authoring tools. You can use an image editor to edit the images. You can use sound and video editor to edit it, the content as much as possible. And when you say multimedia is integrated, the background noise is much. All multimedia components, audio, video, text, and graphic used in the system must be somehow integrated. And so every device, microphone and camera, will be controlled, connected to and controlled by a single computer. Like here, we are teaching now. We have the text on our screen. We have the camera facing me. Then we also have the microphone connected that relays everything I'm saying to you, the end user. You could hear everything. So a single type of digital storage is used for all media type. So when we finish now, everything we are talking about, will be recorded and sent back to you. The interactivity. This one is based on information delivery. Here, the users can select the time at which the presentation starts, the order, the speed, and the form of the presentation is set. Even when I know I have to give the class, I will have to tell you when it has to start, when it will end. The user can also modify or enrich the content of the information, and whatever they do is recorded. And then the actual processing of users' input and the computer generate genuine results based on the user's input. These are some features we have on the media system. Lastly, digitally represented. That means you can transform an analog signal to a digital signal or vice versa. What we mean by analog signals are signals that are generated and represented by telephone and other measuring devices. Digital signal is the one that are represented, captured, and transmitted by the computer. And so for your computer signal to move through the airwaves so that it can be captured at the other end, it must be converted to analog. And then when it gets to its destination, it's converted back to digital. Elements of multimedia, multiple media. There are 5 main elements, or you could call them contents of multimedia. Most of the time we have 4, but let's look at the 5. The first 2 are the static elements. They are in one place. They don't move about. First one could be text and graphics. Graphic in this case means pictures. You see them on flat paper. Text, you write them on paper. They are in one location. Then you have the other dynamic elements that can move about, like video, audio, and animation. What you do in terms of graphics. Video and animation normally go together, but we can safely separate them. So we have text, we have graphics, we have video, we have audio, we have animation. So we'll look at them one after the other. Text. This is the most basic unit of every multimedia system, because text is the big organ of them all. And it involves the use of characters you can type, numbers you can enter on the system. You can even write it with your biro. And these characters can be modified in terms of their size, in terms of their color, and in terms of their background color. In multimedia, text is mostly used for titles, for headlines, for menu, for paragraph lists, and so on. In every multimedia application, other media or screen can be linked through the use of text. And that is what you call hypertext. You type a text here, you click on the link, it takes you to another text. That is hypertext. You now hyperlink it. The most commonly used software for viewing text files are Microsoft Word, Notepad, WordPad, and so on. And mostly the text files are formatted with .doc, .txt extension. These are the different kind of tests you can look at. Different kind of tests. So you can see titles. What you are seeing, the appearance of this text is what you call the fonts. Fonts, they can be big, they can be small. They can be big or small. We call it font. So this font has a side. It can be increased. It can be reduced. So you can make it smaller. You can make it bigger. So you call them font. So when you have access to this particular text, you can make them to be bold. You can put them in italic. You can reduce them. You can copy them and take to other places and place them in. Even when you bring out your graphics, your video, your animation, and even the other forms of text, your sound, you can also use the other forms of multimedia like sound. You can always use your text to even explain their content and what they do. And graphics is a digital representation of non-text information, and it can be a drawing, a chart, or a photograph. A drawing like something that you just create. It can be a chart like a pie chart, bar chart, histogram, or a map. It can be a photograph, like your personal photograph. And graphics makes the multimedia application attractive because they help to illustrate ideas through still pictures. Pictures can tell a lot of stories without you saying anything. And there are 2 types of graphics, bitmap paint graphics, and vectors, draw graphics. Bitmap are also called raster graphics. I represent images as an array of dots, which we call picture elements or pixels. Bitmap graphics are resolution dependent and generate large file sizes. Vector graphic, on the other side, has to do with a line, and their image is drawn on the computer with software that uses geometrical formula to represent images and only require a small amount of memory. So when you draw those lines that even those tests you have on your screen, those ones are vector because they are generated with the computer. But when you are now putting somebody's picture there, that is bitmap. Because if you zoom that picture well, zoom closely to the picture, you start seeing some arrays of dots. And that is what makes up the picture. So this is graphics. Still pictures can be chart, it can be an image. So we have video. Video is the technology of electronically capturing, recording, processing, storing, transmitting, and reconstructing a sequence of still images representing scenes in motion. Photographic images actually make up your video. Yes, photographic images, because a particular video can be several photographs that are exposed at the rate of 15 to 30 photographic frames in a second, and they now appear to be in full motion. Meanwhile, they are all still photographed. And then videos, you can use them to promote television shows, films, or other non-computer media that traditionally have used trailers in their advertising. It can be used to give users an impression of a speaker's personality. And you can show things that move. For example, a clip from a motion picture. And then you have the fourth one, audio. That is what comes out from the mouth. You voice it out. So in multimedia, audio means related with recording, with playing, and it's an important component of multimedia because this component increases the understandability and improves the clarity of the concept. What you call audio includes speech, music, or any other sound. So it can be music, it can be speech. You call that audio. And you have the last one, animation. It's a rapid display of a sequence of images of 2D artwork or model positions in order to create an illusion of movement. Animation is always an optical illusion of motion because those images you see moving, they actually are not moving.